A couple of weeks ago, if you had asked me what my favourite film of 2014 was, I would have said Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, having seen Whiplash, that is no longer the case. Now, the film basically follows the character of Andrew, who's a sort of promising young drummer, who is attending a very prestigious school in America and wants to be taken on by a music teacher there called Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons, who's, you know, like a very sort of famous teacher and is very successful at it. So Andrew's trying really hard to get accepted into that class. He does get accepted in, and then that's where the meat of the story is, in that Fletcher is borderline, well, starts off borderline and then not so borderline, abusive, both physically and mentally towards Andrew. And the film is about the two of them really sort of playing cat and mouse with each other. So that's the basic plot, and I wouldn't want to sort of delve any more into that. I wouldn't want to ruin it for you, but those are the sort of bare bones of it. Now, going in, I've never seen Miles Teller in anything. I know that he's going to be in the Fantastic Four reboot that's on the horizon, and he's been in a few sort of like college comedies and stuff like that, but I've never seen him in anything, and I must admit that his face used to really annoy me, and that just goes to show that my misconceptions or preconceptions about him were sort of ill-conceived, because he is absolutely fantastic in this as Andrew. He does things that I didn't know he was capable of as an actor. His performance is terrific. Now, people praise J.K. Simmons for his performance as Fletcher in this, and those accolades are definitely deserved. He's great, but Miles Teller seems to be overlooked a little bit in this movie. But I just need to say that he is absolutely fantastic as Andrew. Not overly likeable all the way through, but realistic. It's a realistic portrayal, and I thought great. Now, J.K. Simmons as Fletcher is one of, if not the performance of the year. J.K. Simmons, you may know, he's been in basically everything that Jason Reitman's done. He played J. Jonah Jameson in Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man trilogy. He's a terrific actor. I've really enjoyed him in everything he's been in, and you saw glimpses of sort of what he was capable of in his very short sort of scene in Up in the Air. But in this, he's really given sort of front and centre stage, and is terrific and terrifying as Fletcher. And he manages to sort of pepper the performance with enough nuances that it's left ambiguous as to whether the guy is just a complete prick and a bully and he's doing it just to amuse himself, or if he's actually, you know, if he actually cares so much about music that that motivates his actions. The fact that J.K. Simmons can let that remain ambiguous really goes to show what a good, deep and layered performance he gives. And he is absolutely terrifying when he's shouting at the kids who are playing in his jazz band that he's conducting. And you really buy as well that he can control the room literally by doing this, and everybody falls silent. He's a terrifying presence in this, and just fantastic. Now, the chemistry and the interplay between both J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller is simply electric. All the way through, they are bouncing off each other and really sort of testing each other, not just as those characters, but it's also almost like they're testing each other's performances and really bringing out the best in each other. So the two of them, along with the script, really sort of brings out that dynamic, and that is the meat of the film. It's directed and written by Damien Chazelle, who's a director I'm not familiar with. I think this might have been his first theatrical film, but he's one to watch out for whatever he does next. He managed to make a film about drumming, which I used to play the drums, but I never thought that you could really make it visually interesting, but he manages it. He really does sort of hit the ground running in this, and to be honest, the final set piece, and I won't spoil what it is, was more exhilarating than any action scene I saw last year. I left the film, it almost moved me to tears by the end. I left it exhausted. I felt like I needed to lie down, and I had to sort of sit and digest this movie for a few days after I'd seen it, because I came out of the cinema feeling like it had transcended the cinema-going experience and like I'd been on a journey watching it. I felt like I'd been in there for about half an hour and almost been beaten up the entire time. That's sort of how I left. Having digested it for a while after seeing it, I can safely say it's my favourite film of 2014. I think it's only been released in England in 2015, but, you know, it's among the crop of last year, so it's definitely my favourite film of last year. I cannot wait to see it again. I don't think it's a film you could watch very often, because it is quite almost an endurance trial, but it's one that you will definitely rewatch. I loved it from beginning to end, and I can't really think of any flaws. It's almost perfect. It's such an amazing movie, and it's one that, you know, I'd heard hype before I went to see it, and a little bit sort of similar to Birdman, I was like a little bit worried that maybe it might not live up to it. This smashed through the ceiling of hype and just absolutely blew my mind how good this movie is, and I'm raving about it, but it totally deserves it. Whiplash, the best film of the last year.